The question on the 17th stage of the Tour de France was, could the Italian Robert Fontani beat Miguel Indurain, the Spaniard, in the mountain stage? This is the highest level, stage 17. We're going to go on the road with David Duffield and Stephen Roach to see if the Italian can overhaul a 7-minute lead by Indurain and take the yellow jersey.
Fontani back with the team car, and well, he's not a doctor as such, but he presumably got to either encourage him to go on or say get off, you're in too much trouble, because he's got the future, many things in future,
David Boyfava. He's actually the team manager of the Carrera team. He was actually director sportif when I was there, and he's one of the nicest men actually in cycling at the moment. He's very understanding, very human, and he will not be the one that will tell Fontani to go on. He will be the one to tell him, listen, think of your future, think of your leg. If you feel you can go on, you go on, of course. The Carrera would like you to go on, but if you have problems, don't go on. We need to again next year, so it's a decision that Fontani must make himself. But Favo will not be the one to say, listen, Marco, you must go on for the team.
Well, with 1 kilometre to go to the summit, Fontani still in trouble. When we think of the great names that have dropped out of this race so far through sickness or accident, Tony Rominger out of the race. He'd been tipped to challenge Indurain for the yellow jersey. Lance Armstrong, the world champion, has climbed off. Steve Bauer also went ahead. He was bitten very early in the race by some insect and his leg all swelled up, and that was him out of it too. We've lost Claudio Chiappucci, who's had the polka dot jersey in the Tour de France and finished 2nd and 3rd. He's out of the race too. Jalabert, the top sprinter, crashed out on day 2. Pavel Tomkov, who finished in the top 10 last year, he's out of the race. Jean-Philippe Jogger, the French hope, who finished 15th last year, out as well, as is Chris Boardman, who took the yellow jersey in the early part of the race. But the earliest retirement of the big names was Greg LeMond that dropped out, so he's gone as well. And we're surprised too when Gianni Bugno also called it a day. So Bugno dropped out of the race. And the big climbers, Stephen Rooks and Tunisa, have been also eliminated from this race. Frans Maassen dropped out with a ball in his bum some time back. Van Hooijdonks also climbed off his bike and said he's had enough too. This is a list of some of the big names in bike racing. Wilfred Nellison brought down in that crash, no longer with us in the race at the moment. So a tremendous roll call of names that have been known over the years, or in Boardman's case a very recent name in the race. And Indurain's still there. Varanka is beginning to move forward thereabouts, around 800 metres from the summit.
He's put his big chaining up, because he saw Peters putting his big chaining up, so I can imagine these boys coming to the top of this big hill using a 53 chaining with possibly 18 on the back, but still it's a big year even still. But Varanka, in my opinion, is making a mistake, because it's not good to be selfish. And like the Lotto team have not made much money in this Tour de France, so there's as we all know, there's also always a slight premium on top of every mountain climb. So here's Varank going for it here, where he's so much ahead now. He's so much ahead in the points classification that he cannot not be caught by anybody now. Here he is, like going over the top leg first, beating Leclerc. But like if Leclerc had won it, we'll have given him a few extra bob for the kitty for the team. So it means that you have to be always thinking, you have to be of the other guys as well, because these guys, they may not help you win a race, but they have very long memories. And for example, maybe later on in some other race, Varank could be there, and Peters would say, well, Varank made a mess of me in the Tour de France, he wouldn't let me win any of the sprints. It's also good for Peters' ego as well. But as Varank now is he's not being very understandable, he's not being very polite either, that he's kind of stopping them from earning money. So that's putting it that way. Nobody wants that. Nobody likes that. So it goes down the memory, and maybe someday when Varank is in a position to win a race, they can help him lose the race.
Well, there speaks a great gentleman himself, Stephen Roche, giving us benefit of how the bike riders should behave, in my opinion. I think he's entirely right, Stephen. I know it's a cut and thrust
Well, I'll
game.
give you a typical example, Dave.
Yep.
When I won Tour de France in '87, I was also, the morning of the stage, I was also leading the points classification. I could have won the points and the yellow jersey. But on the last day, I was being attacked by the Panasonics and the Quantums and everybody else. And I said, what am I going to do? So Yeli Nidams was lying second to me on the points classification. So Yeli wanted to win the sprint, but I was so far ahead of me, couldn't catch me unless I didn't dispute any of the sprints. I didn't dispute the finish either. So Yeli Nidams, then I let him get the first sprint. He told us, great now, I'm winning a sprint. I'm getting more points than Stephen. So he kind of helped me then. What didn't even have to ask him. He helped me kind of defend my yellow jersey then, because being attacked by the Panasonics and everybody else, like I wouldn't have gone under, but it would have made my day much more difficult. Whereas because I was prepared to kind of play the ball with them and not kind of eat all the cake for myself, they helped me, and they even later on in other races, the money always came back to me, because they helped me, didn't help me, but they were kind of didn't help me lose the race, if you know what I mean. Whereas if I had gone on and kind of wanted to win, really won the green jersey in the Tour that year, the Quantum team would have been against me, and any other race I rode after that, if they could have helped me lose it, they would have done so. So it's better having these guys on your side than having them against you. Whereas Frank now is not thinking very much of the future or of the Lotus team, who have won very little in this race so far.
Well, the ins and outs of cycle racing, and very much so the fact that there are some gentlemen in there, and there are also some cutthroats who'll go and sell their grandmother for sixpence. But the bike riders, when they're out on the bike, some of them don't even think about anything else but getting their bike over the line first. The consequences later on of that come to them perhaps afterwards. But nevertheless, these riders here in the Tour de France are giving us great exhibition of cycling right up until today's stage. It's the first time we've seen them taking it relatively easy on stage 17 in the Tour, but there's still some big climbs yet to come. But the man who could have really caused the problems, Pantani, if you just joined the programme, let me tell you that we started out from Bourg-d'Oisans at 12:15 this morning, and very early on the climb up the Col de Glandon, Pantani and Ellie crashed, and down they went, and you see them coming stringing down here. It's like a great grey snake on the edge of this mountain. Those riders, little string of them, like a string of pearls on this grey snake down the mountain. So the Pantani now will be freewheeling down to try and get up with the leading group again. He was brought down by Ellie in a crash and has been in all sorts of trouble ever since then. So the yellow jersey now has lost probably one of his greatest channels. They lost, the man is still there, but his enthusiasm for the chase seems to have diminished somewhat, and that's a great shame for the Tour de France. It takes me back my mind to the cartoon when Indurain won the time trial at the what about stage 8 or 9, when he took the time trial and just took over the lead in a convincing style. And there, the cartoon in the Keep next day was a chap standing on a chair, and on the back of the chair it said organiser, and this big black coated gentleman with a rope round his neck up to the gallows above and a pistol to his head was above it. It says, "Is the Tour finished?" ? So like the organiser wanted to shoot or hang himself because he lost all the Tour. But we had a great race since then. So many things have gone on. There's been attacks going on. We've had unknowns winning stages. We've had Sean Yates, as far as Great Britain's concerned, in the yellow jersey as well, to go alongside the yellow jersey that Chris Boardman took on board as well. We had those great stages in Great Britain as well. So the Tour's been full of a lot of activity, and even once Indurain won it still went on being a great Tour with many breakaways, never a dull moment. Today is the first time we've ever seen them all together, the riders, for such a long way on the stage. And this climb, the Col de Glandon, by the time they went over the top of that one, 1,924 metres above sea level. From the top, wonderful panorama of Rocha de Argentina, and of course the Le Mont Blanc was also available in can actually see it in the distance as well. Just let's study these riders going down and just marvel at these characters. Look at the state of that road, and they're coming down here close on 50 miles an hour. And still Indurain at the front. Pantani and his teammates at the back. What a disappointment. Looks like they've dropped a bit on the descent, and they've preferred to have gone in amongst the car, but there you can see the front end of the race and the back spread something now about 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes back to Pantani, but they should all close up at the bottom. They climb this mountain in both directions in various races over the years that the Tour de France has been over, the big climb, and the King of the Mountains jersey on the back of young Richard Vironk. The record for the climbing prize, the King of the Mountains, is held by Federico Brahamontes, who took the King of the Mountains jersey no less than 6 times in 1954, 58, 59, 62, 63 and 64. He holds that also with Lucien Van Impe, who did it in 71, 72, 75, 77, 81 and 83. There were the Federico Brahamontes, the Eagle of Toledo, and Lucien Van Impe. Lucien Van Impe has actually been working occasionally on the tour here as a commentator for one of the Belgian television companies, so they come around the bend a little bit gingerly, because yesterday Indre managed to lock his back wheel up and skid all over the place, and sorry, the day before yesterday, and that caused a few heart-stopping moments, but they seemed most to be safely down. They were not quite at the bottom of the climb yet, and it looks like a live snake, doesn't it?
It does. Indurain is, of course, staying in the front here because it's the best place to be on a descent. You can make your own line. He has one teammate with him as well, so if anything happens to him, he has all his teammates behind him then to change a wheel or whatever, because if, for example, Miguel punctures now on this descent, it's not good for him to go back to the car and change his wheel, because if you're looking down from a helicopter, we saw that the length of this long line. Again, he gets back to the back to his team car, he will have lost nearly 30 seconds and never got back to the front again. So what the teammates would do, they would change the wheel with Miguel straight away and push him away, so he'd lose only maybe about 15 seconds maximum, but he'd be back into the bunch again after only about 50 riders have gone through. So it's a great advantage to have a teammate behind you, so you can do this operation very, very quickly. And also it's you can go in the corners on your own, you can take the line you want to take, or you can see gravel on the road. There's gravel on the road. And if you look down this descent here going down from the Glandon, this road was resurfaced for the Tour de France, which I believe. So it shows you the importance that the Tour de France has in this part of the country, or in any part of the country. Even we saw in Great Britain when we had the 2 stages over there in Portsmouth and Brighton, the work that the work that was done to the roads over there just for those 2 days racing was also incredible. And we see every day throughout the Tour de France the major roadworks are carried out before the Tour de France comes, because it must facilitate 200 riders plus over 300 cars. So the roads have to be in good order, and also if these roads are very, very bad and it's seen on television and everything else, it's not very good for the tourism as well. So it's in everybody's interest that the roads are good. So this road has been redone again, as I said again, for Tour de France.
So any of you listening to this programme want your roads repaired in Great Britain when the Tour comes back in, put your hands up and go and lobby your local council to have the Tour on your roads, because if it does come back to Great Britain, and it could be in 4 or 5 years time we get the race back again, the problem is with the Tour is that it's more likely to be locked somewhere down in the south of England, where we don't have the big mountains that we do up, say, in Yorkshire, where Home Moss features so significantly on many of the British races. We've been over there in the Milk Race, Kellogg's Pro Tour, and of course the Leeds Classic takes in Home Moss a couple of times, and that's a cracking big climb up in Yorkshire. The problem is with the Tour de France, if it comes back to England, they want the shortest trip across the water, although they did the first time they came all the way across to Plymouth, and that was a long old trip across the water, but this time we came under the Channel Tunnel and went back by the boat over to Cherbourg. So they don't like long journeys as far as the organisation is concerned. The riders can fly across, there's no problem in that at all, but it's getting all the equipment, and as the race has got bigger and bigger, getting it all across and then finding a place you can put it means that if we do go back to England, we may well be down in the southeast or southern part of Great Britain again. But you never know, we might end up with a race going into Holland or something and nipping across from Rotterdam to Hull and then inland. But from Hull into the mountains of Yorkshire, it's a fair old way to go in. So to get the Tour de France to take any mountains or any big climbs in Great Britain is probably going to be a very difficult thing to do, and we may have to rely upon the short little conks that we get down in the southeast. But you never know, Alan Rushton, who did a wonderful job in Great Britain, and hats off to him. And we've seen Mick Bennett going around signing up lots of these riders for the Kellogg's Pro Tour when we were on the rest day at Lourdes. He and his team and Sport for Television did a wonderful job to organise the tour, aided and abetted of course by the local councils in Kent and Sussex and Hampshire and all the way around where they went. I think the work that's put in by the major cities too, the major towns, was absolutely tremendous, and we should, I hope, get the same sort of cooperation again, but it's find the right course, and then if it does happen, you might get your roads repaired.
Well, it's one excuse anyway, but hopefully we can go back to Britain without having putting that clothes in. But I'm just saying it's difficult to get to have the Tour de France up in for Scotland, for example. But this year, whoever thought we'd have been going through the tunnel across to England, so maybe they might have some other later technology in a couple of years' time that may help us get across to maybe a giant hovercraft or something like that, and everyone just drives on and drives off in Scotland after 2-hour boat trip across, or a hovercraft journey across to Scotland or to Hull or anywhere. So yes, anything can happen in this day of age.
Of course, really, there again, though, Steve, the riders can be flown across in like an hour. It's just getting all this entourage that goes with the Tour to move, because that is the big problem, is these heavy trucks and having all the barriers. I know that in England that Sport for Television provide all the barriers anyway, but nevertheless, the race then is very difficult to move across out of France. Climb of the Col de Madeleine. They've covered 68 kilometres of the ride today. They're just over halfway on this stage 17 from Bourg-d'Oisans to Val Thorens. And Ugramov, who went away something like about 5 kilometres from the top of the climb, takes the first place from Rees, and then Nelson Rodriguez over into third place. So the Gvis-Belin boys, let's see what the clock is going to show on here, what damage they've done to the group coming up behind. Well, there's not a lot of space between them and the chasers here, as Pantani, who's recovered from that crash, has fought his way back up to the main pack. He tried to get away. Veronk came up to him. The yellow jersey saw the danger and came up to them as well. So the yellow jersey now is a very great descender. Miguel Indurain is in a nice spot here. Pantani, Veronk and the yellow jersey being followed over the top by the pink jersey of Zuller, but Veronk here accelerating away, getting a few more points in the Kingdom Man. He's got that jersey, got so many points, he could coast over the top. He's using up energy here, which surely he could save.
Well, I would just like to see him getting dropped on the next hill, really, because then he might. No, I wouldn't say it would do him any good, because he's so stupid sometimes that it makes you ask yourself, what will it take to make him understand? You know, here he is, like, look at the effort he's using, look at him going for the line. Nobody's actually. Indurain's going to try and beat him for it. There you are. You see, that's Indurain saying, anybody can do that, Like, Indurain hasn't got to do it, but I'm sure he's getting a bit browned off now with the tactics of Virenque. So he's just showing, listen, if you want to play it, we can play it as well,
And so on the descent, the 3 leaders, that gap at the top, just sufficient for a breathing space. We've got lots of riders being shelled off the back. John Paul Van Poppel has abandoned, and here comes Bolts over the top then, with Ellie just behind him with those funny coloured glasses, looking a bit like a fly with the glasses over the side of his face. Coming Zaina just behind him for the Gavis team, and Breukink has now caught his way back up into this little group as well. In there too, Pasqualino. I'm looking for. Oh yes, Luc Leblanc is in there. I think yes, with the hat just there.
Massimo Girotto's in there also. Eric Carey too is in there, but we don't see De Las Cuevas for the moment. That's unfortunate that Cuevas gets blown out now.
We saw him way off the back further down, and looks like Hamburger team members cropped over the top. Pelliccioli for the Poli team has also made it over the top as well. And so now, as the rest of the riders coming up here now, Jay Rui, I think that's the first of Benestas we've seen come over the top, isn't it? So they really have buried themselves. This little group, here's one here now. So Indurain is very much on his own.
Yeah, Indurain is very much on his own, but he has Virenque and Pantani. So even though Pantani will not ride after Virenque, but if Pantani goes away, Virenque will ride after him, and this is helping Indurain. So automatically he's becoming a teammate, an ally of Indurain, which is the stupid part. Like, he's okay if he lets Indurain ride his eyeballs out, then attacks him. He could go for the first place instead of trying to consolidate a second place.
And most of Benestos nearly 3 minutes down on their team leader. They shepherded him up to the bottom of the climb, and here Charlie Motte then, the heat haze beginning to come up, and Charlie really gritting his teeth. What a dynamic character. You saw his brake lever work, by the way. Then it's not that he's broken it, that is his gear mechanism. He flicks it and he can change gear, and that's what he did there. But Charlie really bouncing along on the saddle. What a great competitor he's been over all these years.
He has. This is his last Tour de France, his last time over racing over the Col Call of Madeleine. And I remember myself last year when I'm going over all these hills. Every time I drove one of these hills, I'm saying this is the last time in my whole career I'm going to go over this hill. So
that means you're going in a motor car now.
Yeah, but still, it's it's not part of a career that's finishing. It's part of a life that's finishing. So I can imagine Charlie at this moment is saying the same thing to himself. He's saying this is the last time in my life, in my whole career, that I'm going over the Call of Madeleine as a cyclist. So it's a touching moment as well. We see here great big Sean Yates here in the group, only 4 minutes down. So very good achievement here by Sean Yates. And we see Jesper Skibby in there as well. We see Johan Musio, Eduardo Chavez in there as well.
A lot of people we wouldn't see at this particular point. No, that close to the.
The race only started at the bottom of the Madeleine, really. So it's in one way it's normal, but at the same time it's great to see Sean Yates in there only losing 4 minutes on the Madeleine, which is some nearly 20 kilometres long.
And time for refreshments on the way down for the leaders. Gavis Balan, 2 men in the front here. Nelson Rodriguez, the little Colombian, wedged in between them as a neat little sandwich at the moment.
Well, one thing on this stage, like the riders themselves will be using a lot of the liquid nutrition, because of the fact that the feeding station is after 110 kilometres. But when you have 110 kilometres and you have 2 first category climbs, as you hear the Las Cuevas, it's going to lose 5 minutes. It's really on a bad day. But as I was saying, we have one first category climb called the Glandon, which lasts some 20 kilometres, and you have a second hill then called La Madeleine, which is 20 kilometres long. During those 2 climbs of 20 kilometres each, you won't eat very much. So you got to have this liquid drink, because if you start eating bread or the tarts or whatever else you have, it's very hard to digest, so it's very difficult. I'll see the Las Cuevas here putting on a raincoat, which I think I would have, if I was at his place, I wouldn't have worried about putting a raincoat on. I would have put a bit of paper up my jersey and got on with the job, because this is all losing time.
He's well down the mount, 5 minutes and 30 seconds. This man who would be looking for a place in the top 3 in the finish at the Champs-Élysées in Paris on Sunday. De Las Cuevas, who started the morning in 4th spot, is now then losing time all the way. He was in 4th spot, 9 minutes 15 seconds down the yellow jersey. Pantani now could well have overtaken him, because Pantani is down the hill and on his way through, together with Roberto Conti and Punikov. So it could be Amon de Las Cuevas, who was in 4th, might find himself dropping down to 8th and a chance on the podium. Slipping away from him, though, we do have that mountain time trial in a couple of days' time, and we just keep our fingers crossed then for Pantani and his bad knee, that he can stay the course on the climb up to Val Thorens, where a big crowd is gathering. The weather conditions are still a little bit chilly, and thank goodness here the nice people from France Telecom have given us something to keep us warm.
Not a little bit chilly, very chilly. I have still my 5.
You've now got your 6th layer of clothing on.
I think I should have put my long johns on as well. But no, it's very cold up here again. It's only now you appreciate the job that commentators have when you must commentate for 5 hours. It's okay commentating when you're on Saint-Tropez and the sun is shining, or the second week of the Tour de France was very, very warm. It was great. But we're all in shorts and short sleeves and the sweat rolling off us. But here we are now commentating on a 5 hours live which Eurosport is bringing you today, and it's absolutely freezing here, because we don't move at all. You've got a little cold wind coming in. It's very, very damp. It cannot be any more than, I say, 11 degrees here at the top of Val Thorens. So it's suddenly some incredible change in temperature. So it's very cold.
Well, it was 7 degrees earlier on, according to Peter.
7, yeah, I can well believe it. I've just got a flash out the group here. We have Luc Leblanc now has come back onto the group.
So the regrouping on the way down, and he's moved straight up then towards the yellow jersey. Conti in front of him, and our thanks to the lovely lady from France Telecom for giving us yet another jersey to keep us warm. And yes, that's Stephen, how I lost my voice in the Paris-Roubaix. 4.5 hours commentary non-stop, straight into the wind. They went straight down my throat. I got a cold before I started, and I lost my voice for 5 days, and all my friends said, why the hell did you get it back? I thought that's nice and sympathetic for them, wasn't it? They all hoped I would never speak again. Just imagine that, me not speaking for nearly 5 days.
Well, it would be great. Here we have our bus now, as we call it, our pullman. We see Dagot Lauritsen, Flannerson, Abdu Japarov, Ronan Pansek, a lot of reasonably good riders here, but you see them all Alcala going through. You see them all taking the paper off the side of the road. In the past days, I would see one of the team riders here, cars here from the Carrera, handing up bottles to the riders. But this day will be very important, putting paper up your jersey, because from going up, your jersey is going to be very wet. and going down the far side with a wet jersey. They're having the cold. The air is not warm enough to dry a jersey, so it's pushing the cold, damp, wet jersey against your chest, and which can automatically, as you can believe, give you bronchitis or give you some serious chest troubles over the next few days, and nobody wants that in this stage of the Tour de France.
And it's not quite cold enough though to freeze the fingers on the way down, but that's another problem when it's very bad icy wet conditions and cold on your hands. Your brakes, you put your hands on your brakes and you have difficulty feeling your fingers get numb, but at the moment it's not quite that cold as far as these riders are concerned, but it is very, very chilly in a sharp contrast to the hot weather we've been having so far. But that's what the Tour de France is all about. You go from one extreme to the other. The riders are either on the flat or they're climbing mountains. It throws everything at the participants. It throws out a different course, it throws out different weather conditions, and the people who survived to the finish in Paris, and from now on in, every man that's got this far will be desperately hoping nothing goes wrong, won't it? Because they can see now the Champs-Élysées in their minds. Well, the last time check we had to that leading twosome with about 3 minutes and 25 seconds to the breakaway group, Ugrimov and Rodriguez. The man who was with that little group originally, Rees, has now been swept up by Sorensen, and here we go now with just some 5 kilometres to go towards the finish, and at this particular point they must be thinking of victory because the attacks have not come strong enough from behind to cut that deficit. But Ugrimov is still concerned about Rodriguez, who's not been doing much work at all, and I suppose right now he must be knowing what he's got to do to get rid of him.
Yeah, it's very frustrating for Ugrimov because he's done all the riding all day. Rodriguez has stayed on his wheel. He collaborated a little bit with him early on the bottom of the hill, but he knows that he's from 1 or 2 attacks that he's made. He knows that Rodriguez is still very, 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 very fresh. So on the top of a hill like this, Ugrimov not being a great sprinter, he could be beaten by Rodriguez, and that would be a terrible thing to happen to him because he's ridden all day for a stage victory, and to be beaten by somebody who sat in a wheel all day is a very, very frustrating moment. But Ugrimov even saying that, like, Rodriguez is not a great sprinter himself, so maybe, you never know what can happen, but maybe Ugrimov has got the power to hold off Rodriguez. But if they keep looking at each other, they'll be caught by this group very shortly. As Indurain takes over now.
It's played right into Indurain's hands, hasn't it, today?
Once again, I wouldn't have mind having some of those teams around me when I was riding, because Indurain every day finds teammates. Now, as Pantani attacks on the right-hand side of the screen. At
long last, Pantani has leased that superb touch of speed. But with the 2 leaders,
gone also.
Yeah, but 2 leaders with 5 kilometres to go, it looks like he's left it awfully late. The last time check we had was 3 minutes and 25 seconds. Pantani, who's searching for a stage victory in the Tour de France, left it too late on the Alpe d'Huez yesterday. He's had a crash today which has unnerved him, unsettled him, and no doubt about it, has hurt him. Leblanc has blown. Well, it's the second time he's tried to go away.
Yeah. Or is he blown, or is he waiting for Virenque?
The way he sort of sat up and freewheel, I think I've got a suspicion that suddenly the hammer got him.
Yeah, look at the way Pantani is going away though, But Pantani could be going. He is going off for the second place now. Like he's only 9:40 down on general, but he's only 2 minutes and 20 seconds away from Virenque's second place. So if he could get 2 minutes out of this group here, the group of Virenque and Leblanc, if he'd only get 2 minutes out of him, he could go into second place. But I'm sure if he'd even get to third place, that would suit Pantani. A great ride by him today, because I'm sure he's very much hit morally and physically this morning from this crash. As everybody here in Tour de France got a fright this morning when he hit that stone wall on the climb of Col de Glandon, and we thought he was going to be out of the race. He was nodding his head. We thought he was going to be out of the race altogether. So it's great for us to see him here back in the race.
And he's going to collect up in front of him. That looks like Rees. He's going to close. It's Sorensen now. Now I've got the watch going. And certainly on this particular point of the climb, he's going to have difficulty getting first place, I think, because he's coming up now, and he's in fact 2 minutes and 54 seconds down on the 2 leaders.
Yeah. But it's great to see Pantani attacking though, because he attacked at the right moment as well. He's a very young rider, 24 years of age. He saw the Bortoloni of the Malpe class team pulling across, Indurain taking up the relay, and thought this is the right moment. He couldn't have attacked at a better moment. He attacked like as if he's an old professional. He's a new professional now, but he attacked as if he'd done this all his life. He attacked at the right moment and caught Indurain by surprise.
And as he's come through there, then he's gained something around about 20 odd seconds on the group already.
It is, and Indurain looking strong, but not as strong, I think, as he has been over the last few days. As you remember, the last few days that Indurain took over with 4 or 5 kilometres to go, it was like a big TGV train, a very fast moving train, eliminating guys out the back door as he rode along. Here Pontani now was riding on his own again, and behind Indurain doesn't seem to be doing the same damage as he has been doing. So maybe is Indurain on I won't say an off day, but is Indurain starting to pay from his efforts he's made over the last few days?
I'm really enjoying this Tour de France, Stephen, not only working with you, but I'm seeing men attacking Miguel Indurain. I've got nothing in Miguel as a man, but the last couple of Tour de France, he seems like everybody's known he's been strong. You haven't seen what we're seeing today, but we've seen him several times in the Tour. They're prepared to have a go. Conti is still there. What an amazing ride he's doing.
He's doing a great ride, but I only hope he doesn't start riding with Indurain. Leave Indurain ride. Let's see what he has on in his stomach for once now and again.
And so that's the man in the pink and the blue on the left-hand side, the man who won yesterday, Conti. His first victory ever since he turned pro in 1986. A good all-round rider, but he's not won stage in the Tour de France before. This man here down by 2 minutes and some 25 seconds on the two men in the lead, Ugrimov and Rodrigo. But he's trying to punch a hole in the gap between himself and Armand Cravis. Is way down the mountainside the moment, so he could be moving now certainly into 4th spot. Can he take Luc Leblanc's position in 3rd? Because the gap then is just 1 minute and 5 seconds between Pantani and Leblanc. Now when did Leblanc with him? Leblanc has now been blasted out, and that means Pantani could be looking for 3rd place all over. Leblanc's got to fight his way back again. He knows now that Pantani is trying to take that 3rd place off him. Just 1 minute and 5 seconds separate them on general classification this morning. Indurain just ploughing up here, trying to keep his main contenders at bay, but the battle is going on for 2nd, 3rd and 4th places.
Yeah, look at if you remember from the last couple of days, every time Indurain went in the front, the lads got blown out straight away. Today the riders are hanging on more so, and Indurain is not giving the impression of the speed he's given over the last few days. But the riders never attack, and they always wait till it's too late. Here we are on the last hill. Indurain has no teammates, and the lads wait for 5 kilometres to go to attack.
And tomorrow we've still got 3 first category climbs to go, so Indurain's lead could still be cut back then as the 2 leaders go under the banner with just 2 kilometres to go. But whilst this may be interesting to see who's going to be first over the line, the question is, can Pantani move up from 5th place into 3rd?
He's using his big chain ring, Dave. And we are actually going uphill. You cannot get the impression from the cameras going up, but he is going uphill. He is on his big ring. He is, even though he had his bad fall this morning, he still has good power and certainly got a lot of strength left.
And you're right about Indurain. He's not stringing out. The gaps aren't opening up between the wheels, are they? Normally, I mean, yesterday he was down to 2 men. The day before, every time there's only about 3 or 4 left with him, and gaps are between the wheels.
He is suffering. It's he may not lose too much time to Pontani, because Pontani must be suffering also because of the crash he had this morning. But at the same time, isn't it great to see Pontani attacking after having such a bad crash this morning? 35 seconds from Pontani back to the yellow jersey of Mikel Indurain now with 3 kilometres to go.
So he's got to keep pulling him out. He's just pulled those out in 2 kilometres. He's taken 35 seconds. So with 3 to go, he can certainly make it over a minute back to the group, which includes Luc Leblanc, the yellow jersey group. Then the thing is now, can Pantani then move up into 3rd spot? And with some more big climbs tomorrow, then even the 2nd spot of Varank is under pressure. So the battles really are going on for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th places here, whilst the stage victory could go to either of these 2 riders, because 2:21 is too much to pull back in the last couple of kilometres. They turn sharp right here, and still think they can catch him?
I still think Pontani is coming up on them. He has everything to gain, Pontani, so he's going to be going full steam ahead. Where these 2 riders, they will, I'm sure, start looking at each other with a kilometre to go. At that stage, you might see Pontani coming back from behind.
And bear in mind, these 2 riders have been out for over 70 kilometres in the leading group, working whereas Pontani, despite that bump to his knee, has been able to sit in a little bit in the main group. And let's hope it hasn't hurt him too much, but certainly those 2 riders could be under pressure from Pantani, who's going away from the yellow jersey group.
As we saw the group of Ugrimov and Rodriguez, I felt them easing up there even, so they're already starting to look at each other and starting to cat and mouse around a little bit. So with Pontani in full flight, he could come back in the last kilometre.
So it's still an amazing ride here, and Sorensen will be reeled in shortly by the yellow jersey group. It's very dull and overcast here, and Bernardino has just climbed out of the car looking all smiles today. He's certainly, the organisation have got a very great race despite the number of top men that dropped out. We've lost Le Monde out of this race, we've lost Romigo out of this race, we've lost Chiappucci out of this race, we've lost a lot of top men who could be contesting for the top places, but there's no doubt about the younger riders here, and Pantani in particular have been giving us something to talk about. And here now with 2 kilometres to go, these two riders, if they start playing cat and mouse, anything can happen. They've still got to turn left here and then go up, and there's still a nasty climb before they come into the finish.
51 seconds now from Pantani to the yellow jersey group of Miguel Indurain. So Pantani is still taking time out of Miguel Indurain. So maybe you're right, Dave, maybe he could get him over a minute. He will get over a minute, but he might even get a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes, maybe if he's lucky.
So a great ride by Pantani, and the great ride by these two riders here. Still Ugrimov on the front then, having to lead out Rodriguez in the yellow of the ZG team and the blue shorts underneath. Rodriguez has been virtually wheel sucking all the way up, and nobody likes that, but let's hope that these two can settle their differences on a smooth run into the finish. Ugrimov still doing all the work.
He is slowing down. You can see now he's using a bigger gear, and he is slowing down. So Pantani is coming back very, very fast. These boys are slowing down, so Pantani could come back right from behind.
The hairpin bends and the short sharp straights now. That camera comes up on the fixed position, just showing you back down there shortly the gap between Pantani and these two leaders here. Ugrimov then beginning to tighten up his Velcro toe straps, ready for the sprint. He's got to do something to dislodge himself from Rodriguez. He's tried already on the climb and failed, and Rodriguez is not coming through at all, and Ugrimov now is slowing down. This is going to help Pantani, there's no doubt about it. Pantani is flying up the hill like a demon possessed. He can soon be able to see these two. This is a great ride then, and the rest of the field now just clawing up here, and amazing, as you said before, they're still grouped together. That the yellow jersey is not blasting them off the back at all.
You'd nearly think I've seen this before, Dave. Wouldn't you think I've seen bike racing before? You would. But it's great to see Pantani coming back onto our two leaders. He may not catch them, but he definitely get close to them. And I'm sure now, as they get into the last kilometre, Ugrimov and Rodriguez will look at each other even more so, and they may slow down. This can help Pantani come from behind, maybe catch them, maybe not win, but maybe catch them. But wouldn't it be a great feat if Pantani could catch them and win the stage today, after this morning giving us all a fright here, everybody here in Tour de France think that maybe Pantani is gone.
Well, that was when he banged his knee in the fall, and the group here with this Indurain, the yellow jersey, has been under attack several times. We've said LeBlanc had a go at him, various people had a go at him today, and he seems like he's being attacked left, right and centre. His teammates have dropped off, and still these two then heading up towards the top of the climb, and it's Ugrimov doing all the work. What a tremendous job he's done here. The man who finished second in the Tour of Italy last year when he won a stage as well, and he frightened Miguel Indurain. He got so close to him. I remember they had an uphill finish in one of the last but one stages in the Tour, probably last but three stages in the Tour last year, and how Ugrimov then went past Indurain, and Indurain fell against the banners, which shows towards the end of the race he's not unbeaten. We're not knocking Miguel at all, but it's nice to see people are prepared to have a go, and I'm glad for Ugrimov, who rode about 24th, 25th in the Tour of Italy this year, coming back, but the man behind him now finished 5th in the Tour of Italy, Rodriguez, so he has got the slightly better climbing ability. He's been sat on the back of Ugrimov now, and it is still anybody's race for the stage, but Pantani, everybody's talking about what will be the gap at the end and how much will he have jumped up general classification.
But these boys now are inside the last kilometre. They're going to start looking at each other even more so, because nobody wants to be second. When you're arriving at two in a group like this, nobody wants to be second. Each one of them want to win. They know each one, like Rodriguez knows that Ugrimov is not a great sprinter, but it's not guaranteed to win. Ugrimov knows that Rodriguez is a good sprinter, but still doesn't feel capable of winning. So they will look at each other more and more. This will help Pantani coming back from the back.
And well, we've had Colombians winning stage races in the past, but never back up into the cloud, never a man from Ugramov's home country here. So let's see if he can get this one on the line here, as they're now coming up towards the final few hundred metres in the race. Pantani will probably have them in sight. They've been cat and mousing about, but the sprint for the stage victory here at the highest point the Tour de France has ever finished, up Val Thorens, this great ski resort, 2,275 metres above sea level. They've been climbing up the last 30-odd kilometres from a height of just 380 metres. So they've now climbed up something like about 1,900 metres, and Ugrimov is still in the lead away from the Colombian in the yellow jersey, but only just as they now go up and under the tunnel. Actually counts down for the sprint inside the tunnel. About 400 metres to go when they go into that tunnel. They come out the other side and then round up toward the finish, where the crowd are perched up on the hillsides, getting vantage points on the rocks to get themselves positioned to watch this finish. Who's it going to be?
Rodriguez has the best place now, sitting on Ugrimov's wheel, getting an ideal lead out. And with Ugrimov being much bigger than Rodriguez, he's really well in there in the slipstream, got plenty of protection.
Ugrimov changes gear and puts his hand down old-fashionedly to the gears down on the down tube. He's the older of these two riders. He's got lots of experience. He's been a pro longer than Rodriguez. Can he get it this time? Rodriguez starts to come off his wheel. Rodriguez is trying it, but out goes the elbow bit from Ugrimov, trying to stay away as the Colombian starts charging forward, and the Colombian's going forward, and Ugrimov puts his head down absolutely disgustingly, and I feel the same way too. Rodriguez gets it, but that's almost a foul as far as I'm concerned. I shouldn't say as a commentator, we should applaud a victor, but he sat on the wheels all day long.
Yes, that's happened to me once before as well. Here's Fontana coming into the last 400 metres, so he did gain an awful lot of time back on him. What a pity that group had gone away. What a pity that group had gotten such time on the flat, and what a pity Pantani hadn't got one or two more teammates to help him close the gap before he hit the final 7 or 8 kilometres of Val Thorens.
So it just shows you how much he pulled back, because at one time the gap was 4 minutes and 6 seconds, and then bit by bit it came down to about 2.5 minutes, and then when Pantani took off, just 2.5 minutes separate him from those two riders at the front. But look at the gap now coming in. He really has closed up on those two, and what would be the reaction today had he not bumped his knee? You see there on your screen, looking down to the right hand side, his left knee, how badly scarred it is, how badly blooded it is. But still Pantani, despite the pain and the suffering and the shock of falling off his bike on the climb at the Col de Glandon, is coming up to a 3rd place. But the interesting thing is, what has he taken out of Luc Leblanc? What has he taken out of Veronk? And De Las Cuevas is well down the mountainside, and here they come.
Pantani has done a hero's ride today. I think he did. He really made me proud to have ridden with him last year. As here's Luc Leblanc, I think it is, who has attacked now.
Yeah, well, he's the one who's going to lose the most from this, because he was 8 minutes 35 seconds down. In fact, Pantani started this morning 1 minute and 5 seconds behind Luc Leblanc. So the clock is on Luc Leblanc coming up now, and according to my clock then, it's just come to 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Luc Leblanc desperately fighting to keep his 3rd place. Has Pantani taken a place, as we say, on the podium? They put the top 3 men up at the end of the Tour de France on the Champs-Elysees, and they have to fight for that one all the way through. And here Luc Leblanc is digging deep into reserve. He tried to go with Pantani, he blew then, and looks now as if he's digging right deep into his reserves, and the gap is coming up now to 1 minute. Looks like Leblanc has lost his 3rd place then. 1:05 was the gap this morning. It's now 1:02, 3, 4, 5, and on my number now, Pantani has moved into 3rd place in the Tour de France.
Great day for Pantani.
Stephen having a look through the crowd to see where his mate's gone to, as Indurain winds it up. Then Luc Leblanc blown. Indurain coming up for a 4th spot, and let's see how much time he will have lost on Pantani. And Veronk just forces his bike over the line, and that's 1 minute and 29 seconds is the deficit. So also then Pantani has closed up on Veronk, who started this morning 7:21 down. So in fact now that means he's now 8:28. Let's see, 8 minutes and 10 seconds, 8:10. So now Pantani is within something like about 50 seconds of 2nd place, if my calculations are correct.
So I can imagine Richard Bianchi will be very uneasy for the next day or two.
What a day we've had then on the ride up to Val Thorens. The victory going to Nelson Rodriguez, just outpipping Ugrimov in the sprint for the line, after he'd sat on the wheels all the way through since they took off at the Col de la Madeleine.
Thanks again to Pantani for a fabulous day here, because without Pantani having to go off the leaders, this race would not be as exciting as it is today.
That's right, Stephen. We've had a great ride, and I think you're staying with the team tonight. We're sending my congratulations too, because I love to see somebody having having a go. In this Tour de France, we've had something every day has been happening. Although they start out quite slowly this morning from the Col de Glandon, we've had a cracking day with the victory going to Rodriguez and Pantani moving up into third. Pasqualino coming in nearly 4 minutes, in fact 4 minutes down on the two men that have crossed the line in first and second place. Here Franco Ciccioli, the rider who won the Tour of Italy a few years ago, coming across the line, also just being followed over by Federico Munoz Fernandez of the Colombian from the Calme team. Thomas David coming up here too.
A good ride, yeah.
Yes.
He's done a very good ride. First Tour de France, he's showing great promise. I had tipped him to be one of the up-and-coming riders for the future, but he's definitely proving me right, because he's putting on a great show here in this Tour de France this year.
Coming up with the Mapei class rider over the line then, as these two riders completing probably just in the top 10 or 12th place overall. And there they are then. That was Bortolami, Gianluca Bortolami, who nearly got the yellow jersey, just by 1 second behind Yates when we went down the road. And now I hope the people in the crowd will give a hero's welcome to Bjorn Ries. He was in that breakaway group that set off on the climb up the Col de Madeleine. He tried so hard to put his teammate Ugrimov in a winning situation. He was there, Ugrimov, but Ugrimov still had to continue with the work that Ries had put in on the bottom half of the climb, whilst Rodriguez got towed all the way up. So I'm sure that he'll console his mate when he gets over the line here. Bjorn Ries did a hero's job today.
Yeah, he did a great job today. He suffered a lot towards the end, but he has used up an awful lot of energy over the last few days by going on breaks, by riding for teammates. So it's no wonder, like when you see how he rode over the Col de Madeleine with Ugrimov on his wheel. He had a great ride today, and also a stage winner, so he's by no means a nobody. So it takes enough of courage to sacrifice yourself for somebody else. As Charlie Muddy comes in here after having a great ride, coming in only some 6 minutes down on the leader, on the winner of the stage. So it's a great feat again for Charlie Muddy here, once I say it again, on his last Tour de France.
And we're down into his home area shortly, as Bjorn Ries just gone across the stage. The stage he won was the one at Albi, when he just got across the line a couple of seconds ahead of the chasing group. One of those lone breaks that did come off, but only by a couple of seconds. Charlie then being cheered on by the crowd. They recognise his style. He's a very noticeable rider in the bunch. He's got a particular individual style, and we're certainly going to miss Charlie. He's a very happy-go-lucky character, and always in good humour, he seems to me, too.
He's one of the last riders now of my generation. The next one will be Mark Maddy, who is also retiring now. So starting from next year, there'll be very few riders of my generation, which I feel was a great generation. The Delgados, the Le Mans, the Fignons, all these riders were all a great crowd of lads. We always got on well together. There was great rivalry between us, but also great comradeship between us as well. Whereas the young generation today, I find, haven't got that same comradeship and don't kind of give the same spectacle as we had a few years ago. I'm not saying my generation was better, but it's a different kind of racing today. You can't fault the lads. The lads ride the way that their generation ride. But with Charlie Murty going off the screen, and this year being his last Tour de France and his last season, it'll be the end of an era.
It seems also, Stephen, that as it goes in cycles, but you get several years when there are certain people around, and then you get this falling out, and another lot come through, don't they? I mean, you're mentioning names there who are all going out at the same time, we're all doing things at the same time. There isn't like a transition. It seems to be almost a quick break at the end. When I look back over the years when the dominance of the CI Rally team, when they had a lot of riders then doing the same thing, and then bang, they stopped, and before that there seems to be a sort of not a one-by-one dropping off, suddenly a lot go out.
It is, like it's incredible to see so many riders going out at the same time, because the generation I'm talking about, the generation of the early 80s, the generation that went professional after the Moscow Olympics back in 1980. So like I said, Madio, the Mottes, the Fignons, the Rhodes, the Gatos, all of those boys, they're all going out. But we had a certain kind of system, a certain kind of way of racing. We raced that made great spectacle for television and everything else. The riders today ride differently, but I'm sure the generation before me thought my generation rode bad as well. So I'm not criticising the way the new generation rides, but it is sometimes difficult for me to understand their tactics, because I know that if I was in their situation, I wouldn't have ridden the same way. So you must forgive me if I sometimes feel I'm trying to criticise the riders, but it's just that it's difficult for me to accept sometimes riders riding for second place, because in my lads, with my generation, with Fignons and the Le Mans and everybody else, second place was never good enough. We wouldn't even think of riding second place.
Well, there the elation of Rodriguez, the desperation of Ugrimov, and this man who sat on the wheels all the way through. He got towed by both Ugrimov and Rees ever since they took off after 70 odd kilometres have been covered. So he's had something like 70 kilometres of sitting in the wheels, nearly 50 miles he'd been towed along. I know he had to ride up the hill, but sitting behind somebody, particularly to a big bloke like Rees, means that he wasn't using the same energy, and poor Ugrimov knocked back into the third spot, so there'll be a few people upset by that. But that's cycle racing, that's what it's all about. And Stephen was talking about his generation. I remember my interest in the sport started in the 50s when Coppy and those lot were riding, the Bobby and those people, and they in those days weren't the tactics we have today, and really the top 10 men would just go and destroy each other in the mountains, and they'd win by minutes. They would just ride the Kublers, the Coblés of the world. They were the sprinters, the Daregards as well, but that was a generation. Then different tactics came in then, and I wonder also when you say after the Olympics, I was now getting the award up there, the flowers to a very happy man, Rodriguez, who's not had many successes in his career. I'm looking back now at his victories, and he's not had a first place since he turned pro in 1990, but he has won the stage today into Val Thorens. Nelson Rodriguez. Nelson Rodriguez may be all smile, but there was disappointment in the Gvis-Balan team that Ugrimov did not get the stage after they'd done so much work. But that's bike racing, that's sport. These things happen all over the place, and I think almost when I look back to the World Cup in the penalty shootout that they had to sort of resort to kicking balls into the nets rather than playing the game. But that's sport today. If you can't get a decision one way, you get it another. And so the Colombian has got the success, and this is a man who is utterly disappointed, and I think a lot of people are going to put their arms around him and say, Peter, you tried your best, you rode yourself into the ground, and what a great disappointment for him to finish his second spot. Let's have a look at that one, and Pantani has moved up into third spot then, just over LeBlanc. Conti has moved up into fifth as well. He's come on remarkably well, hasn't he?
He has gone great, but unfortunately Pudnikov has lost out completely. We don't know, we didn't get his time there, we don't know where he came in, but Pudnikov, like a fair play to him like tonight. We have to say well done to Pudnikov, because he rode his eyeballs out, remember, on the early part of the climb to close the gap down between the group, yellow jersey group of Ingeran and the leaders of Ugrimov and Rodriguez. So he sacrificed the 7th place in general, so he'll have possibly lost a couple of places in general now tonight, but it must be said he did a great job for his teammate Marco Pantani.
And there, the polka dot jersey convincingly on the shoulders of Richard Brandt. There are really not enough points, I think, at stake between now and the end of the tour for him to lose that jersey. Let's hope that his physical fitness stands and he doesn't go into any sickness troubles, and he will have that polka dot jersey in Paris, and that undoubtedly will be something for the French to speak about. Here he is coming up the line now, getting himself some more points, and he thunders across the line. They're elated with some more points towards his King of the Mountain jersey. Vronk is still lying second overall on general classification. It's one of the best rides I've ever seen him do, because in the past in the tour he's taken the polka dot jersey and lost it, and he's had good places in the tour and lost those as well. But it looks now like as Miguel Indurain comes here and the crowd applaud him, that he is convincingly still the overall leader. But nevertheless, he has been under pressure today. He didn't look quite as sharp as we have seen him in the past, but perhaps it's too late in the race to say he can be under pressure for that yellow jersey, but you never know. Pantani has forced the pace today and climbed up into third spot. Vronk tried to get away and couldn't beat this man, so still in the yellow jersey, Miguel Indurain looking for his 4th victory. And we've still got, though, tomorrow 3 first category climbs to go over. That's on 21st of July, the 18th stage. That's Thursday. I hope you'll join us on Eurosport for that Thursday stage of the race. Myself, Stephen Roche, and David Duffield. What another cracking day's racing. We've had a very chilly finish here at Val Thorens, but nevertheless an exciting day. A victory to the Colombian Nelson Rodriguez, but Indurain is still the overall race leader.